Wait a minute. You're telling me the party just got a ship. Their very own ship. They're so proud, they're already naming it the Sea Spry, the Black Kraken, or, in one case, the Sexy Boat of Destiny. They're ready to hoist the sails, conquer the waves, fight pirates, explore exotic islands. And then, what happens? I crack open the rulebook and there's almost nothing. A few lines about ships, a throwaway table about travel pace, and if I'm lucky, a half-baked stat block for a galley. That's it. That's what I've got to work with. My players are out there asking if they can swing from the rigging and cut sails mid-combat. And the book's telling me how many days it takes to cross the ocean if you have favorable winds. Not great, wizards. Not great.
So, welcome to Cantrip, where today we figure out how to turn the boring slog of open water into the most cinematic, swashbuckling adventure of your campaign. I'm Simo, and today we are talking about how to make sea travel and naval combat actually fun in D&D. Because the last thing you want is your grand nautical arc feeling like world's slowest Uber ride. So let's start with the voyage itself.
The core problem with sea travel, it's simple. It's a void. A giant blue map with nothing on it. If you treat the ocean like a big, empty road between point A and point B, your game is going to feel empty too. Your players will go, cool, we're on a boat. We wait 10 days, and that's it. Story over. Which is depressing because in fictions, voyages are incredible. Think Odyssey. Think Pirates of the Caribbean. Think Moana yelling at the ocean. The sea itself is a character. It pushes back. It tests the heroes. It forces them to adapt. That's the first mental shift you need to make. The voyage is not downtime. The voyage is story.
But okay, how do you do that without rolling on random storm table number 5 every single day? Well, you make the journey episodic. You treat it like a series of dramatic beats. Picture the ship as a stage, and every couple of in-game days, something happens to shift the drama. The storm, the mutiny, the giant sea monster, sure, but also smaller things. A rival sailor making eyes at the cleric, the cook discovering they're out of fresh water, a mysterious floating wreck drifting past with one survivor aboard. You don't need charts, you need drama.
The trick here is pacing. You don't throw everything at them at once, you scatter it. One session, it's a tense moment of running low on supplies. The next, it's an eerie night with bioluminescent fish glowing beneath the hull, leading to whispered rumors of a forgotten god. You can make an ocean feel alive by layering mystery, not mechanics.
Let me give you an example. I once had a party sailing to an island to find a lost artifact. We had about 3 sessions of travel before they even saw land. So what did I do? I made the sea its own dungeon. Not with walls and corridors, but with heavens that are folded like rooms in a crawl. First room, a sudden fog that disorients the ship. Second room, a pod of whales, majestic and massive, one of which slaps the hull with its tail. Third room, they discover barnacles glowing faintly, clinging to the wood, and one sailor swears he hears whispers when he touches them. By the time they hit the fourth room, a storm, the players were hooked. The sea wasn't a highway, it was an adventure.
That's voyages. Now, combat. Oh boy, naval combat. So, here's the problem. D&D's combat system is not built for ships. It's built for people hitting each other with swords in a room that's 30 feet wide. When you suddenly ask it to model 2 galleons circling each other with ballista and cannons and crews of 50, the math falls apart. Either it turns into a clunky war game that nobody at your table actually signed up for, or it collapses into we shoot once per round until someone dies of boredom. Not great.
But don't panic, because the secret to naval combat is not simulating ships, it's simulating chaos. Think of every pirate movie you've ever seen. The battles aren't about precise naval tactics. They're about swinging ropes, exploding powder, waves crashing, people shouting, the captain dueling on the quarterdeck while fire spreads below. That's the vibe you need. So, how do you do it in 5e? Easy. You make the ship the environment, not the character. What I mean is, don't waste time giving the ship 500 hit points. Nobody cares. Instead, treat the ships like a stage full of hazard and opportunities. A mast can be cut, a sail can be lit on fire, the deck can tilt dangerously. Every round, something on the ship changes. Maybe a cannon explodes. Maybe a wave crashes and everyone has to make a saving throw to stay standing. Suddenly, it's not I swing my sword again, it's I swing my sword while clinging to the railing as lightning hits the mast. That's a fight your players will remember.
You can spice it up even more with crew actions. I love this trick. Instead of trying to run 50 NPC sailors, just abstract them into 3 or 4 crew actions per round that the party can influence. Do they order the crew to fire the cannons? Do they order them to repair the sails? Do they send them to board the enemy? Let the players decide. Now, the PCs aren't just fighting, they are commanding. And that makes them feel like real captains, not just passengers with swords. Let's say your party is fighting a pirate frigate. On their turn, they can swing over and fight individual enemy, sure. But at the start of each round, you also ask, what's the crew doing this turn? Fire ballista? Raise defenses? Try to ram? The players make the choice, they roll a check, and you narrate the outcome. Success! The ballista tear through enemy rigging, dropping their speed. Failure, the enemy returns fire and knocks down one of your masts. Every round, the players feel the stakes shifting.
Now, one of my favorite homebrew mechanics for naval combat is what I call the chaos table. Every round, roll a d6. On a 1 or 2, something goes wrong. On a 3 or 4, something shifts dramatically. On a 5 or 6, the players get an advantage. You narrate it cinematically. On a 1, the enemy rams you unexpectedly, DC-15 strength save or go prone. On a 4, a lucky wave lifts your ship higher, giving your cannons advantage on the next volley. On a 6, lightning strikes their deck, starting a fire. It's wingy, it's wild, it's cinematic. And your players never know what's coming.
You can even scale it to match your story. Fighting in calm seas, the chaos table is gentler. Misfires, tangled ropes, sails snapping. Fighting in a hurricane, every roll threatens to send people overboard. And speaking of overboard, please throw people in the water sometimes. There's nothing scarier to a player than realizing they're bobbing into the Black Sea, armor dragging them down with shadows moving below. The Monster Manual has an entire section of sea creatures that basically exist to eat people who fall off boats. Use them.
And here's the thing, don't be afraid to fudge Naval Combat shamelessly. I know, big shocker, Simo lies again. But listen, no bodies at your tables is there to carefully measure wind direction and cannon range. They are there to feel like Jack Sparrow jumping onto the enemy deck with a grin. So, if you need the enemy ship to explode in a fireball right when the paladin delivers their dramatic line, do it. If you need the Kraken to retreat early because combat is dragging, do it. If you need reinforcement to show up because the PCs are too comfortable, do it. Naval combat is theater. Treat it like theater.
One time, my players were fighting Sawajin riders who had boarded them mid-storm. Half the party was on deck, the other half below tried to pump out water. At one point, a Sawajin crits, drops the rogue to 0, and I think, okay, if this goes one more round, they're doomed. So what did I do? Lightning strikes the mast. It crashes down between the Sawajin and the fallen rogue, buying just enough time for the cleric to heal him. Was that in the rules? Absolutely not. Did the table cheer? Absolutely yes. And that's the point.
Now, you might be wondering, how do you balance this stuff? Like, how do you know if a naval encounter is fair? The short answer is, you don't. Naval Combat breaks the math. So you aim for drama instead of balance. You build it like a movie scene. You ask, what would be cool here? And then you make sure there's a path for the players to feel clever, a path for them to feel challenged, and a path for them to feel triumphant. That's enough. But if you want some numbers, here's a quick rule of thumb. Treat every ship as 2 or 3 monster equivalents. The crew counts as one, the cannons count as another, the captain counts as a third. Balance those against your party's level and then layer in chaos on top. That way, even if the math gets fuzzy, you've got a baseline. And if all else fails, remember the golden rule of seafaring. Everything is more dramatic when it's on fire.
To wrap this up, let me say this. Don't treat the ocean as filler. Don't treat naval battles as gimmicks. Treat them as stories. The voyage should feel alive. The combat should feel cinematic. And above all, your players should leave the table with wild stories about storms, pirates, sea monsters, and the time the bard tried to seduce a mermaid mid-battle. Which, yes, happened at my table. And no, I won't tell you how it ended.
That's it for today. Thanks for hanging out with us while we rant about ships, storms, and bad rules. We are still having a blast running this channel, and seeing your comments about how you used some of these tricks at your own tables generally makes our week. If you want to support us, like, comment, share, subscribe, and ring the bell.
Until next time, may your voyages be epic, may your cannons never misfire, and may your players never, ever roll a one on Tide and Nox. Thanks for watching!